What's going on, folks? Time to talk about some Del Mar racing for this weekend. Gino Bacola here alongside my good friend Barry Spears, the sniper. We're going to talk all about Friday and Saturday Del Mar. We'll give you a few of our best bets, some of our thoughts. If you're someone who plays in stable duel contests, we'll give you some horses that are nice prices that you can use there. And we're going to dive into the daily racing form past performances. Right now, DRF is offering you a really good promotion through DRF Bets. You can sign up right now, get a $200 match deposit bonus, use the promo code STAKES. But the best part of this promotion, they will give you 10 free past performance cards right off the bat, all access. So you can use regular classic past performances, Formulator, or the Timeform US. And then following that, every time you bet $50, they give you credit for another past performance. That's the gripe that we all have as horse players, Barry, and they're doing their best at DRF Bets to give you credit through wagers that you make. So that way you can go on and you can cash those in for past performances as we get ready to talk some Del Mar for this weekend. I'll be honest. I thought in a lot of these races, Barry, especially on Friday, I found a lot of horses that were like maybe 4-1 or 3-ish to 1 that could probably beat a favorite or two, but the fields aren't massive on Friday, so there aren't as many huge opportunities. I found a couple extra, and I think it looks like you did on Saturday.
Yeah, Fridays are tough because they don't card that many races, and for whatever reason this week, um, the field sizes were way smaller than they had been. But there's some spots on Friday where you could cash in on something other than a favorite, and then definitely some opportunities on Saturday. So, I'm looking forward to it. We've been hitting them pretty good.
Doing really well, yeah. At least
Yeah.
one or two prices each weekend from us. So
All
seeing
it
the
takes
ball
is
well,
one, man. All it takes is one.
and that's why we play it this way, right? Because you give yourself more opportunities to where you don't need to hit quite as often, and that's what one of the things we can always do as horse players. There's a lot of stuff that's out of our control. Like we can't control weather, we can't control sometimes biased racetracks, we can't control trips, good or bad rides. We can't control a lot of things, but we can control the wagers we make, right? And we can control making good wagers consistently, right? Taking good shots. That's one thing you can do. Any team in the league, doesn't matter your skill level, you can take good shots. You can try to not turn the ball over. Those are things that you don't have to be the best skilled player to do, right? I think as fans, when we see people turn the ball over and that kind of stuff, it gets frustrating. I think of it the same way as a horse player, Barry. One of the things that I can do that's in my control, I can always, or as close to always, make smart wagers.
That's it. That's really all you have control over,
Yep.
to be honest. And that's one of the things that makes or breaks people, horse betting is their betting acumen.
Yep.
And you know, if you think about it, it's just kind of pure math. You could hit three 2-to-1 shots, $6 each, that's $18. One 9-to-1
Put you,
equals that, right?
yeah.
Either equal or more. So, those are the kind of things you got to think about when you're putting together tickets, when you're, planning your strategy to attack the races. And the more you get into a good habit of doing that, the more likely you are to not reach or bet things that are out of your scope. And it helps you create, kind of a zone where your plays are probably going to be. And then that's what I try to do. I mean, this is what I do like normally is sniff out these kind of longer shots and then try to make plays around them.
100%. That's exactly how I'm always doing it. And it depends on what race is what I'm looking at. But for the most part, I'm going to start with each card. I'll go through each races. And then they're like, if I'm not planning on playing a pick 5 or a pick 6 or a connected wager at that track, there's a lot of races I can eliminate right away. Where it's like, I'm not going to play that race.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
look
I
at
mean,
it.
you see them, and there's a 2 to
Yeah.
5 shot or a 3 to 5 that
And if you
looks
don't feel like,
unbeatable.
yeah, or if there's your only options are a couple of 5-2 shots, where you feel like it's a small field and nobody's really giving you great value. It's like, yeah, I can probably pick the winner of this race, but I'd rather find another race where I'm much more excited about a 5-1 shot, 8-1 shot, the way that we look at races. So I think you start kind of training yourself to what you want to look for even as you do it more and more. Everybody has their own methodology in the way they play. And I love the way you pointed out last week how right before we looked at a race, you were talking about how you seem like at the lower levels and in dirt sprints, you do really well.
Yeah.
For some reason, you seem to find the horses where their form is going to play out really well to those races. That as a horse player, you go into those races a little more confident. Boom, you get a horse that plays $30 in that race.
Yeah, the thing is you want to exploit the bad morning lines and make the correct bets in that, in that zone. So that's kind of what you want to do. And the more you can do that and exploit these bad morning lines or morning lines that kind of give you an edge where you're going to get an overlay, that's where you want to concentrate on, because these days you're not going to get too many opportunities to cash in on long shots.
Tons of info out there, right?
Right. And that's what you got to do, is try to pick those spots so you can make some money. And like last week, the horse that I gave out made my whole weekend.
Exactly.
I could have only hit one race,
and you're good,
it was
and you're
fine.
Up.
Right. And that's how I kind of try to plan it. Obviously it doesn't work out that way all the time, but
you can always plan it that way, and you can
exactly.
always make that wager. And some weeks you're going to lose, and you know what? You don't lose a bunch of money because you're not playing every single race, every single sequence. You picked and choose the few spots that you like, and then the next week you make money, and you're already taken care of for those 2 weekends.
Right. And it's like I tell my wife, when I win, it's not by accident.
Mm-hmm. It's not lucky when that's the way you're playing, and those are the horses you're shooting for, right? That's who we're looking for. And we're looking for a few on Friday. Let's dive into race number 4, Barry. I also thought that this was one of the attackable races on Friday. So talk to us about this one. It's 25 claimers going a mile on the turf.
Yeah, this race is really, it's actually a lot more competitive than the price tag on it. You got some really good horses in here that are been bouncing around. They're kind of hard knocking types that coming in and out of the claiming ranks, in and out of allowance races, starter allowance races. It's kind of a hodgepodge, and these races end up being very, very tough. That being said, I'm gonna go to a horse here in race 4, an Unfaithful Ways.
I knew you'd be here. Yep. Yeah. There's 2 horses I wanted to mention in here, and this is the one that I think needs to be used in any exotic wager that you're playing, because the
honestly,
way this race could shape up.
I think this horse is probably going to be favored or close to it. Funny enough.
And so in Sable Duel, that's nice because you pay for a horse that's 5-1 ish, right? Yeah. But I feel the same way. This horse will get bet.
There's enough speed in the 2 and the 3 to get this one a good trip, and I with the short field, it's even going to be more pronounced that this horse is probably going to get the run of the race. It's really up to him to win. Yep. He's getting a weight break with the apprentice jockey, but his races or her races back in the summer win this.
Absolutely. And even the race last time out at Golden Gate in a smaller field really wasn't a bad race. The runner-up that day came back to win next time out on the synthetic at Golden Gate. And when you look at the way the race shapes up, like you were saying, the 6 could also be on the lead, stretching out of sprint races. The 5, Rose Barton, could be right there. And that's sort of why I end up looking at this race, and I give the 3 a chance with the 4, because I think the 3 has these races that can sit. And with Rispoli jumping aboard, I think they're going to try to sit 3rd, sit 4th, right behind those speed horses, get the jump on Unfaithful Ways. These are the 2 horses I needed in this race, 3 and 4. And I think they both may offer you a little bit of value in here, but I agree that the 4 is going to get bet. And I think it's going to be closer to this whole field being even with each other.
Yeah. I think they're going to see
3-1
horses at 3, 4-1.
Yep.
The favorite's probably going to be about 2-1 ish, maybe a little, 9-5 you might get on the 1.
Yep.
But this is a really competitive field, and
it is.
I kind of want to take a look at the board to try to feel it out, but I think the 4 is not going to be favored. and it is going to be the trip horse, and
I agree.
I think that's where I want to be.
And the key, and I'm hoping that the 3, you'll know early if you back the 3. If this horse is caught up in the early pace, I don't think you're gonna like that. But if the horses to the inside go, or if like the 2 goes and the 5 goes and the 6 go, and this horse can let them go and sit behind, like we've seen her do July 30th, that was a really good effort. She had legitimate trouble that day too. She was it was a full field of 10. She was inside. She was saving ground. She had some traffic, so she got caught behind horses. She's traveling well all the way around. She moves up to 3rd inside. She just has no room. By the time she got a seam, she's like a little bit flat. So a really nice effort that day at this level, going, a mile, 25 claimers, sitting off the pace a little bit like we think could be the trip. That exactly would be competitive. So it just comes down to, does she get caught up with the early lead, or can Rispoli get her to relax a little bit? Because I need the 4, and I think the 3 could be one of them that's a little versatile enough to sit. But we'll give a shout out to the Wolf of Oaklawn, Chase. I was on his show this week, and he was mentioning Unfaithful Ways. We both talked about these 2 horses in this race, and I think from a trip standpoint, from a price standpoint, these feel like a couple of the right horses in the right spot. So look at race 4 for Friday. You're also going to close things out, right? In race number 8, as am I. So we're
absolutely
back. We're right next to each other again in race number 8. Let's see if we land in the same spot. Take it away, my friend. Start us off.
Yeah, there's 2 horses in here I like. I'm gonna pick one, and then I'm gonna mention the other, because I have a funny feeling that the horse that I'm gonna mention is gonna come back running. But I ended up on number 10.
Yep.
Big Coop.
Yep. Same thing. Yep.
I mean, I just think this is another one. This race sets up very well for this horse. I mean, you got the 8, the 7, the 6, possibly the 5, possibly the 3.
Yeah.
The 1 has to go from that spot, and then possibly the 2. All have speed. And the 10 probably does not want any part of that, although he's been close up.
But he's got the versatility, right?
Exactly.
That's the key. Like, he can go in some of these races where, you look at Pratt, he's favored in that race. They get aggressive with him, I think, in a couple races where he was just the best horse. So they try to keep him out of traffic, right? And then that had worked well. So again, they showed a little speed, but I completely agree with you. Like, I get to him because I don't want him on the lead. I want him sitting a little bit, a little, like, he can be off the pace. He's making a second start off of almost a 2-year
layoff. Yeah.
2-year layoff.
That's something I don't endorse, but this all the elements are there for this horse to run well.
But the positive on that is they have to have liked this horse to keep him around for what had to have been some really bad issues to be off for 2 years, right? Because a lot of horses probably at this level, they could have said, okay, you know what? It's so difficult getting him back to the races. Let's find another career for him. But they bring him back after 2 years. And then honestly, while his race on paper doesn't look fantastic, it's actually better than it looks. And the speed figure was actually not far off what he was earning before he hit his best races.
And how I feel about that.
Exactly. Once you come back off the layoff and you get a similar speed figure. So he's the 7. Look, he has a nice start out here. He ends up not just going on with it. And so he ends up taking back a little bit. And he's 6th, like, of 8 in this field. He'll end up getting, like, shuffled inside even more, right? So right here, he was pretty close early. And they decided to take back a little bit because they're flying here, right? So that was the right move. He didn't want to be right up there where they were. But now all of a sudden, it felt like for a minute he had decent position. And then now look where he ends up being last here. He went from kind of close to back on the inside to like 6th. And now he's last inside, like 10 lengths off of it.
I think that's a combination of a couple of things. The layoff, you probably needed it. And then the horse on the lead is absolutely flying.
And just extending. And now watch.
It looks a lot worse. And then everybody kind of closes the gap, and then you'll see.
So right there,
know,
he wanted to go, and the horse in front of him backed up
was
into him.
slowing down. Yeah.
Right? So that's just like sneaky trouble. Did I think he's going to win this race? No,
No,
not
he
at
definitely
all.
wasn't even meant to win this race.
No, but he could have been closer here. Now he tips out all the way to the outside, and he's going to like run pretty well to make up some ground. But he got outrun a little bit here. This was a fast pace, right? This is a tough race to kind of come back off the bench here where they're going a lot faster than you would have expected for a mile.
Right.
But
and he
still
lays on his left lead too. I mean, it's just saying, man, that horse needed that race. That's what that's
100%.
telling me.
Exactly.
And he's going to improve off of that for sure.
He's had a
And
full
this is
month.
a great spot for it.
Yep. Full month back. So it's not like a quick turnaround or anything like that. Plenty of time to recover. You got a couple works in from that race, and now you're ready. You can sit a little closer, maybe early, or just try to go, and then not just so you don't get parked wide, and then tuck in somewhere 4th, 5th, middle of the pack. I like that. I really think it's a good spot for him. I like Leonard Powell a lot too, as a barn.
Very
He's
sharp.
very good, and a barn that doesn't get over bet or doesn't get bet to the way that like the quality of their horses are. So lots of positives.
The other horse that I wanted to mention was the 4 Yo Time.
Yep.
I think that horse is going to come back running. The workout pattern is very steady and long. And Phil D'Amato does really good with these types. And this field isn't the greatest of all time.
No.
And I think this horse, they're gonna try to place this horse right behind the speed. And I think that's a good move. Kept pretty good company before the layoff. I don't see why that horse can't come back running.
And if you're concerned
that
about
one can win, I don't know, but
yeah, and with a horse like this, if you're concerned about, speed figures, for example, and you look at his and you compare him to like what are some of the tops of some of the other players, with a horse like this, look at, he's been off now for 9 months, and look at the time period of when he was off from the early part of his 3-year-old year, like just having turned 3 to now. That's a lot of like that development period, right? When you go through a lot. So he should, like, speed figures wise, things change a lot from at that point to where he is now. Don't let that be a reason why you don't like him. I agree with you. Like, there should be some built-in upside with him. D'Amato's certainly capable of bringing him back off the bench. If you're looking for on a card where we don't have that many prices throughout the card, if you're playing pick 4s and pick 5s, definitely throw a horse like this in to close out, because he could end up just being in a good spot, and falling into a really nice trip if he's behind the speeds, gets to jump on some of the others. He's got talent. Now, has he grown up, and is he ready to rock for this race? And the price will be built in for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this race, to be honest with you, because I think the 4 is going to hang around at a price. And I definitely like the 10. So if we can get a 10-4 exacta, it's good money.
Let's do that on Friday at Del Mar. So a couple plays for Friday at Del Mar. I think there are 3 different contests if you're playing Stable Duel. There's a Del Mar $30 game, a $5 game, and then a $50 winner take all. So we can flip on over to Saturday. While we do, Barry, man, I feel like the next Going in Circles will have some fun things to talk about in the world of horse racing. It's been for a time period where there aren't like we're after the Breeders' Cup. It's usually like a quiet period as far as racing. There's not as many, big time graded stakes every single weekend right now until about, Santa Anita starting and Gulfstream picking up. There's been some news in racing. We've got a commissioner, right? And we've got some large wagers being made during the week.
That's so weird, man. This whole week has been weird.
It has been, man. It really has.
That thing yesterday with the the superfecta betting at Monticello and places like that, I just don't understand why. I mean, I'm sure we'll hear about it later, but man, strange stuff.
It was. So there'll be continued stories coming out. You can always go to drf.com for some of those stories when they come out, and they'll keep you updated on everything that's happening. But Going in Circles, big Mondays, and then the new website, right? You've got a lot of stuff coming out. I saw you guys did a Spaces today for Churchill, just doing a little bit more here and there.
Yeah, yeah. We try to get involved, and we do a little bit of work with the Game of Silks with that crew, and it's a very interesting thing how that works, and it seems to be taking off. There's people very enthusiastic, and the best thing about it is there's new players, new people involved in it, that we weren't getting before, like brand new to the sport, brand new to everything. They just know, the NFT thing. And, marrying those two concepts together is such a great thing, and we're getting new fans. So that's a great thing is from where I'm sitting.
Always give Barry a follow on social media. Loves chatting there. We just had our socials up there a second ago, so you can follow me. It's me, Gino B, and follow the sniper, the man, Barry Spears at Urban Handicapper, URBN Handicapper. Okay, Barry, we're going to go to Saturday. Now, you are going to go in race number 2 with the Desi Arnaz 7 furlong little short stakes race, and you're going to play against, I'm assuming, the big 2 to 5 favorite.
Absolutely. You know how I roll.
Oh, yeah.
I don't, this is no chalk zone, which means we don't like doing that.
Nope.
And this race is another one. The Desi Arnaz is a bizarre kind of race. It's carded early. It's a stake race, and it's a short field, only 5 horses. So, the morning line that you see isn't probably what you're going to see at post time.
Yep.
But I do like the longest shot on the board, or at least morning line wise, in the 3 Don't Bring Crazy.
Yep.
Now you got to hear me out here, because you got horses like Royal Slipper, who's clearly well meant, didn't see anything in front of that race over at Keeneland at all, and just kind of had the run of his race. And you see he's 4 to 5, but honestly, I don't think that horse is going to get away with the same kind of trip.
Me neither.
You got the 5 Halone.
This horse is way faster than what she showed.
Yes. Yeah.
She's going to be up
just
there.
didn't get out of the gate.
Yep.
Got bumped pretty bad, was wide, didn't get the run of the race. And I think they have the same style. So you have that last work on November 11th for Halone that, indicates that Bob has this one cranked. And as long as they get this horse out of the gate, I think they're going to be head up for the lead. Then you have Tambo, who probably wants to be
close.
For the place. And same thing with Nothing Like You. So this is kind of like a lone closer situation.
Absolutely.
And that's where Don't Bring Crazy comes in. Has the chops to pick up the pieces here, off of that maiden optional claimer restricted, which doesn't look good on paper. But the running style
that's
this horse.
That's the thing with a horse like this. It's not, even in those races against the maiden special weights against better, it's not that she's like way overmatched. It's that those races are just harder for a horse with her running style when she is facing horses that get away. She actually might get a better pace and a more contested pace in this small field than she did in 3 or 4 of those races where she was well behind and she just couldn't keep up early on. So from a trip standpoint, I thought it was 100% the 3 and the 2 absolute horses to use, because if the 2 can take back a little more, but from a price standpoint, I think it is the horse that you sniffed out. Don't Bring Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, this horse is very, very logical when you look at it from, kind of mapping out the race itself. You just got to put your faith in the fact that this horse is going to be put in the right position and able to close. I mean, you get Rispoli, who's one of the top jockeys out there. Doug O'Neill knows what he's doing just a little bit. So I'm okay with this.
And it's not that Rispoli can't get to the front, which he can do fine, but he is a very good off the pace type of jockey. And that's what we've both discussed in some of the horses that we've liked him on here so far. Like, you feel like he does a really good job getting a horse to take back, sitting, and then pushing the button and making the right move. Don't Bring Crazy, 12 to 1 on the morning line. A nice big price here in a small field. The Desi Arnaz, you have a 12 to 1 shot I'll go right next door and see you a 12-1 shot, my friend, with Classical, the number 2 in here. So just in a really basic way of comparing, Classical and Vegas Burner on October the 1st both ran against each other. Vegas Burner is 5-2. Classical is 12-1. Classical finished 5th in that race. Vegas Burner finished 6th in that race. They were both coming off of layoffs. In fact, Classical was coming off of even a longer layoff. Classical was making his first start on the turf. So he actually has a lot more reasons to even think there's upside built in because we've seen less from him. Then on October the 27th, he just had a bad trip. You can just eliminate that race that day. He was 4 wide. He tried to go with the group. He was kind of 4 wide and he couldn't go on. He got shuffled back and he just couldn't come on again. It was a tough trip because they lined up all for the lead. But in this race, October 1st, he got in front of Vegas Burner early and then outfinished Vegas Burner. And this horse is 5-2 and Classical is 12-1. And now Classical will make his 3rd start off the long layoff. Many people will want to not give him as much of a shot because he looks like he got crushed last time. He got beaten by 21 lengths. But when you're out of it and you just pull up, who cares if you get beat by 50 lengths? If you come back and you work and then you're entered again, this horse has shown me some ability, Barry, and I'm just sort of looking at these two and I was comparing them over and over and over again. I think it's a really nice spot for Classical to be more forwardly placed again. If he can get in front of Vegas Burner, get over to the rail, and he's going 5 furlongs, cutting back in here, he could be really tough to run down. He's going to be fitter cutting back off of these races going longer, and I think he's the one to catch if he can get out like he did on October the 1st.
Yeah, everybody's gonna fall in love with with the one horse, and like you said, the 2 is sneaky good here, especially going head up against that one. There doesn't seem to be much else as far as pace in this race, as long as they don't
even if one goes and sits the other, right? They'll both have a pretty good shot. But
exactly.
And if they do, give me the horse that could be in a similar spot that's going to be 5 times the price.
That's it.
That's
what you got to look for. Yeah.
Like if these two could get similar trips, if we saw them on October 1st separated by nothing, they were separated right on the wire, and the 2 out finishes the one. And then since then, Vegas Burner ran an okay race, and Classical just got in trouble and couldn't get to the lead because it was drawn more like towards the outside. It was kind of in between and took back. And so, yeah, I just think that the price difference is far too high between these two. Give me Classical at 12-1. So Friday, we had a tougher time finding some big prices, but Saturday, we've got a couple of big ones for you right off the bat. Races 2 and 3, 12-1 shots on the morning line to throw into some of your exotics as we both move to races 6 and 7. Let's go to the 6th race, my friend. This one is a Calbred maiden special weight race, 6 furlongs on the dirt. Who do you want to talk about in here?
Yeah, this is another one. It's just such an interesting set of races on Saturday. And there's prices in here, this whole card. I actually zeroed in on one in the 6th race. I'm going to go with number 1, Billy Joe Shaver.
Nice.
This horse, you see that one race on September 29th, no good. You can just put a line through it. You can watch that race. The horse did absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing. They just eased the horse and just pulled him back and didn't really do anything. Now you see right after that race on October 4th,
a couple days later,
puts in a nice gate work. And I think that the connections were like, hey, does this horse have a problem with the gate? And that squashed all of that one work. Then you see the steady work since. Leading up to this race, this horse is gonna show something. A lot more than what he showed the first time. Now, if you look at the rest of the field,
it's
they're not much different than that. I mean, the 2 who's favored was 13 lengths back, albeit in a state bred stake. but still far back.
And what's a kind of a
And
bummer
never won
is,
a race either.
yeah, and the same horse beat him in those races, right? And so not only was he not able to improve at all on that horse and maybe a slightly better feel, like he really regressed off of that race. I'm not on him either. I think this is a good horse to take a swing with too, man. You could see the Dam was a multiple winner and was fine, like was actually
Yeah.
decent, was stakes placed, and then what she's done as far as producing, these are his siblings that are all like pretty solid,
Yeah, there's a
you know.
couple of full brothers and sisters in there that are okay on the dirt,
12-time
you know.
winner, 5-time
Yeah,
winner. You got another multiple winner in here. I think 4 out of 5 were winners out of the
yeah.
siblings. So,
So
like, lots of winning here.
yeah, I mean this sets up as one of those, kind of under the radar overlays that no matter what happens, this horse is probably not going to get bet very much.
No,
Um, even if we get bet a little
8-1,
and they're half that, or 6, 7,
6.
8 to 1,
Sure.
I'm okay with that. In
Me
this
too.
race, there's only 8 horses. I'm fine with that. And should get a nice trip. The rail can't be that much of a detriment because the horse ran so badly the first time. You really don't know. And the fact that this horse actually was in the gate and ran a race is okay with me,
Yep.
as far as
It's
the
fitness
second
level.
time. Right.
Yeah, as far as just getting a lay of the land, right? Getting in the gate and realizing they may have had some gate issues, then that has you come right back and try to squash that,
Right.
right?
Interesting jock switch too. Um, you know, Thiago Pereira doesn't ride a whole lot for Steve Miotti, but he wins, and they
They
win,
do. Yeah, they've teamed up well, and
and
he's
and at prices.
so the one horse, another big price at 12-1 for Barry. I'll give you a middle-ish price here with the 7 Stolen Treasure, who's just been very consistent in those 3 races, right?
Mhm.
Was not far behind in any of them. But the key for me in this race is that the blinker's coming off, because that doesn't necessarily mean he has to come from off of the pace in here, but I think it'll just get this horse to relax a little bit more. And he seems like he gets sort of in his races, like he has a hard time settling and he kind of wants to go. There's some ability there. And he's actually showed us that he has natural speed and he can also pass horses. Now, he's not far behind these horses like Stay on the Fence and Jarama, who are going to be way shorter prices than him. And now he has an equipment change to give me reason to believe that something can make him improve in here, and something can make him turn the tables on them at 2 times the price, 2.5, 3 times the price as, the 8 and the 2 in here. So Stolen Treasure with the blinkers coming off, getting him a chance to relax a little bit more. Franco was aboard him before, so he got a feel for him now, and he's drawn towards the outside, which I like in this group. So I'm on the 7, Barry. It's not a coincidence when we attack the same races, because we think these favorites are vulnerable.
Right. Exactly. Jarama. Um, I've seen better horses uh, go favored than that one. I mean, they all were facing that horse Magic Spoon, or a lot of these horses, and that one handled that one pretty well the last time. But again, that was a maiden race. This is, it's just so crazy how the the form in maiden race 2-year-olds goes in and out. I mean, you can see it here with a couple of these horses. In fact, the horse that you picked is kind of that way, is kind of figuring it out. And I think you're right about the blinkers off and the equipment change. It's going to make a world of difference.
Stolen Treasures, 5-1. Very like the price of Billy Joe Shaver at 12-1 in race number 6. And then we'll both move next door to a 5 furlong turf sprint. It's a Calbred optional 20 first level allowance race. Talk to us, Barry, about who you like in this 5 furlong turf sprint.
Yeah, I'm actually excited about this one. If you look at this race top to bottom, you see all the speed. Gypsy Tears, hands kind of forced. Rachel's Coach, best running has been done on the lead. There's 2 races this horse has won, has been on the lead. Geezer, another one that might want to go to the lead. I'm not actually sure about that one.
Yeah, he's kind of an in-between. I could see him sitting a little bit, but he could also get caught. Like, there are versions of the race where he's forwardly placed. Sure.
Exactly. Book smart, all ones.
Wants to go.
Look at even those last 2 races, which is gonna cloud everybody's judgment, because that horse kind of got easy leads.
And big figures.
Right, and they're gonna be gravitating to that horse like crazy.
And remember, that was on the
and I'm
dirt,
here for
too.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
me too.
Cribbage board, another one that will show speed.
Gotta go.
Mish, probably not. Double Jab, probably not. And definitely not Barely Functional. So there's quite a bit of speed signed on. I ended up on number 2, Gold Council. Coming off the layoff from November 6th last year, almost a little over a year layoff. That was a good race. Not the greatest field in the world, but that was a really good race. And they stuck with this horse to try to get basically back to the same sort of race. What really stuck out to me was the workout pattern, the steady within 6 to 8 days throughout. I think there was one that was a little bit longer than that, but there's no world beaters in here.
None.
There's no reason why this horse can't come back and win this race. And
from a trip standpoint,
should get the run of the race.
Trip, and it's what we were just talking about, almost identical to another horse that we looked at, where this horse debuted the end of his 2-year-old season. He's missed his entire 3-year-old year. A whole year of like growth, development, where he's a lot bigger, better, more mature than like what that speed figure you're looking at says. So don't be thrown off by that low speed figure and say, man, this horse is going to have to improve a whole lot. Well, yeah, of course he is, but he's already bigger, more mature. If he's here and he's ready to go and he's anything close to what we saw from a trip standpoint, that speed figure is going to be a lot better. I had to use him in Maltese and stuff. I think he's a first-time gelding also. He could be a
little slight makeover package,
little late first-time Lasix. Absolutely.
Right. So yeah, I like this horse quite a bit. It's just this race is kind of hard to map out because some of the jockeys might kind of play a little coy, but I still think the pace is going to be fair and good enough for Gold Council to get a great trip.
And I do too, and I'm hoping the one can sit. That would be my hope in here, because you were talking about it. He could get forced because of the rail, but the reason why I'm going to give him a shot specifically is he actually was able to work out the exact trip I'm hoping from the rail on the dirt 2 starts back. I know it's a little different going 5 on the turf, but dirt sprints are not always easy from the rail either, especially at low sal, where things can get a little bit tricky there. So you have the insides a little harder to go through. So can he just sit that same sort of trip he sat in his last 2 races? They were flying in his last start, going down the hill, just absolutely flying. And he ran really well. He finished second behind a horse named Grazed. Grazed came back out of that race, and Grazed beat Open Company, and Grazed did it earning an 84 Beyer speed figure. So this is a nice horse who's sharp and who's now won 3 in a row. So no shame in barely getting beat by that horse going 6.5. Now he gets the big cut back to 5. It just comes down to trip. Can he work out the trip? Because he could, if he's sitting, we're looking for the same trip. Horses that can sit off the pace and not have to be dead last, but can come closing in here.
Oh yeah. I mean, that, with all this speed in here, that's the move. And again, the public gravitates to those large numbers. So Double Jab, first time turf at the same trip is going to take a lot of money, but he's no lock here by any means.
No.
And these are some tough horses he's facing, and 5 furlong sprints are not for the faint of heart either.
No.
So I'd say that Double Jab has to come with the A game and may even have to improve on that figure to win this.
And then Saturday just feels like a lot more opportunities than on Friday. I'll even give you one more as we finish up in the Cary Grant, which is a stakes race. And so my complete approach in this race is the number 4 or the number 7, the Chosen Vron. Grade 1 winner, Bing Crosby winner, 2 back. He was in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. This is a really nice horse. He was only 8-1 in the Breeders' Cup. He was 5th in that race against nice horses, but this wasn't his plan. His plan was to run in the Breeders' Cup. They couldn't have said, we're going to run in the Breeders' Cup, and then 2 weeks later, we're going to run back in the Cary Grant. Right? That's not, when you're mapping things out for this horse, I just can't imagine that was the plan. And he comes out of the Breeders' Cup. No, and now he comes out of the Breeders' Cup, and they probably said, the race didn't take that much out of him. He didn't really pass some horses, but the horses in front of him were all nice horses. Like he was 5th behind Elite Power, Gunite, and Nakatomi, and quality sprinters. So it's not like he ran a bad race. But for me, when I'm looking at a horse like this, and he's going to be a way, way short price, I just think this wasn't the game plan for him. This wasn't plan A. So now I'm trying to beat him. The next horse in this race that a lot of people will gravitate towards is Big City Lights, who's been behind
him
right there, and he's been really honest. But the problem with him, he hasn't run since January. Jeez. So now if you want to take a horse against the Chosen Vron, do you want to take this horse who is now going to have to come off of a long, long layoff? I don't. So I'm playing this race looking against these 2 horses. Like, Chuck, who am I going to find? Can I find someone else outside of these 2? And I ended up finding like a really sharp horse right now, and that's Moose Mitchell. Moose Mitchell, is he as good, or on paper, has he done as much as either the Chosen Vron or Big City Lights? No. But this is a horse who's been in really nice form, and he has been sharp for a while now, all the way back since April when they flipped from the turf back to the dirt. He won by 9 lengths against first level allowance Calbreds. He comes back. He wins back-to-back races against Open Company, first level allowance, then second level allowance with big speed figures. All these races, he shows some like nice tactical speed where he can sit a few lengths off or even anywhere to mid-pack. And then he was in the Pat O'Brien on August the 26th. Honestly, he got bumped a bit at the start. He was down on the inside. He didn't have a ton of room. He kind of came on again on the inside and then backed up. I just didn't think it was the greatest trip. Anarchist moved early, and you can just eliminate that race. He was in front of Lovesick Blues, who's another rival in here. And if you take that race out for him, he has 5 really good races in a row. And I'm looking for horses outside the top 2 because I think that the top 2 short prices in here have some knocks, have some reasons why you can want to play against them. This is a horse who will be in the mix. He'll put himself in a good spot. He can sit a nice trip. I like Moose Mitchell in here, Barry, at 12-1 in the stakes.
Yeah, that's a great pick. A horse I gave a second look to in this race is the 1 Principe Carlo.
Absolutely.
If you go back, this horse back in May of 2022, right, the Triple Bend, after that point, you kind of have to wonder what happened. Because, obviously, probably, a little overmatched in both the Bing Crosby and Pat O'Brien.
But he ran the same race against American Theorem, right? He ran such bang up races, and his A game is absolutely good enough in this race. These are the type of price horses that are fun to use when they've done it before and they can do it on their best day. It's just they haven't been showing it as consistently lately. Can we make excuses for why? Can we forgive them for why? Will it be built into the price for why?
Well, I mean, at least from the pattern and looking at this, it seems like something went amiss with the horse and he was injured. That's why he hasn't been running well. But I see also the workout pattern, and this horse has picked it up in the workouts since August, which probably means the horse is doing well and is healthy. So I would expect this one to show more of that old form on Saturday at a big price. People are going to dismiss that horse regardless of what else happens with anybody else. So you're going to get your price if you do like that one. I tend to like your horse and this one, so maybe I'll put something together.
So a couple price horses for you on Saturday in the Cary Grant at Del Mar to close things out. Don't forget, when you're playing the races, head on over to DRF Bets. They have a great promotion for you right now, a $200 matched deposit bonus. Use the promo code STAKES. They'll also give you 10 free all-access past performances. We generally just kind of stick in with the formulator because it's easier to kind of follow along with, I think, when we're going quickly. But what's cool about these all-access, if you're someone who likes the classic style of past performances and you don't even need any of the stuff to click on, they've got that for you. If you're just used to the old paper style, if you want to go formulator like we always do, where you can click on the charts, you can click on the pedigree, you can click and go get the stats database, you can click on the race replays, all right there, boom, boom, boom. Or you go to Timeform US now with the all access past performances, and they'll give you the Timeform US style where you can get the pace projector, and you can get all of that great information that David and Craig and the Timeform US team put together. I love both of those guys. I think they do such a great job. I trust their work, the work they put in so constantly. So DRF Bets, sign up, and they will give you the opportunity to get these free all access past performances. And you can also get PPs, picks, and clocker reports all throughout this Del Mar Bing Crosby meet. Couple more weeks left to run. My man, thank you so much again for all your hard work. It's always a blast catching up with you before the weekend and getting all prepped. I always steal a couple of the horses you give me and throw them in my pick fours, pick fives, and in my stable dual lineups. That's why we're here, right? Help each other out. And hopefully we can help lead some of you to some winners this weekend. Anything else to say before we get out of here?
Let's cash and get this money.
Let's do it this weekend. Everybody have a fantastic Friday and Saturday. And let's say hello to Joey Cleveland with the call to post rock version.